Hi guys, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we'll be adding GitHub's Oauth2 in an Android application. First off, Oauth2 is a standard used to allow sharing of data between two applications. Let's say we needed some data from other well-known applications like Twitter, Google, or in our case GitHub. We'd make use of Oauth2 to access this data. With Oauth2, you first get an authorization code, which can then be exchanged for the access token, extra security measures and all. These tokens are mainly JSON Web Tokens created by the Oauth2 servers. Some have expiration dates while others don't. Some services like Google provide an easy way to implement Oauth2 in our applications. They have libraries and native APIs that allow us to easily integrate Oauth2 services in our applications. In our case, GitHub doesn't have a mobile client, but it provides the necessary HTTP links to authenticate users and give us the access tokens. Doing this manually, however, will be a bit tricky and a lot of work, so Retrofit and Ktor are out of the list. We have libraries like AppAuth from openID and Heimdall from Trivago that help us do this easily. Links in the description below. In this tutorial, we will be using AppAuth. To get started, let's set up our application in GitHub. Go to your account settings, down to the developer settings, and click the Oauth Apps button. From this page, we can create a new Oauth2 app. First, set the application name, then the homepage URL, which will be used to redirect users to your homepage in case the authentication fails. Add the description, then the callback URL. This callback URL will be called once the process is successful. You'll be granted a client ID, and from there you can create a client secret which will be used later on. Save them in your project, but hide them, of course. You can hide them in the build config, but for this tutorial, I'll just save them in the constants.kt file. In our Android manifest, we need to register the AppAuth redirect activity. This will be in charge of handling the redirects from the Oauth2 server. We also need to specify the intent filters. The data scheme defines the most basic definition of the redirect URI we added in the GitHub settings. In our main activity, let's create an instance of the authorization service class from AppAuth. This will help us make the request to the Oauth2 server. It must be disclosed once the activity is destroyed to avoid memory leaks. In this activity, I have a simple button that starts off the authentication process. Once clicked, I create the configuration for authorization request by passing in two URIs, one for requesting authorization and the other one for requesting the access token. We can then create our request using this config, the client ID we got from GitHub, the response type, which will be the authorization code, and finally, our redirect URI. This redirect URI should be the same as the one we specified in GitHub. We can also set scopes for this request. Scopes are a mechanism used to limit what an application can access. For example, GitHub has data about users, repos, issues, organizations, and so on. So to specify what you can access, GitHub specifies scopes for each set of data. In our application, we only want the user and repo data, so those are the only scopes that we will specify. Using our authorization request, we can get an intent that can be launched with start activity for result. AppAuth makes use of the default custom tabs to open the web page that will request authorization, i.e. the first URL we specified in our authorization configuration. Since Google deprecated the Start for Activity Result API, we will use the new Register for Activity Result API. First, we check if the result code is okay. AppAuth also provides classes that can help us handle the result. We can get an exception using the authorization exception class, or a response from authorization response class. If there was an exception, we can show the user a toast or a snack bar. Otherwise, we should be able to get the authorization code. We can now request for an access token using the authorization code. This is where we make use of the client secret we generated from GitHub. As an extra security measure, GitHub checks if the client ID and the client secret match during this request. Using the same authorization service instance, we can perform a token request with a client secret and a token exchange request. This callback has two lambda parameters, an exception and a result. If there is no exception, then we can get the access token from the result. And with that, we have an access token that can be used to access users' data. You can save it in your shared preference and use it to make network requests throughout your application to the GitHub API. And with that, you have a simple implementation of Oauth2 in your Android application. The link to the repository with the code for this tutorial is in the description below. If you liked this video or found it useful, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.